Hi, I'm Ashley,
And I'm Jade.
and you're listening to
Kill and Chill, the podcast.
podcast. Woo!
Woo!
So, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I have another story. I feel like all I do is tell these stories of how stressful my week has been. And it's always something stupid. But no word of a lie, I made myself look absolutely psycho, which I don't have an issue with doing anyway. I do that quite often. But I rang my mum and she was like walking by herself, which, especially with this week, no, but it
Yeah,
freaked me out. So I was speaking to her, we was chatting away, and it was in Milton Keynes, so I'm fine
yeah.
with all that. And her phone just dies, right? But it took like 10 seconds before it actually died. Like she was on the line for like 10 seconds and it was just silence. And I was like, oh my God, okay, maybe she just doesn't have signal. And then
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. So it cuts off and then I kept trying to ring her and ring her and ring her and it would just like go straight to voicemail. I was like, right, this is stressful, but it's probably just died. So anyway, then it rings, right? And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, hell to the no. Because it rang and she didn't answer.
Yeah.
And then it's just every time I rang after that, it would just go straight to voicemail.
Oh my
And I was
God.
like, oh, no, 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 no. This is not like my mum. And I was freaking out, right? I was absolutely freaking out. I rang my dad. My dad is like so bloody chill about this. And I'm like, she could literally be in harassed, stalked, or murdered right now, or missing. You're
Literally.
just all chill. Literally, before my dad would give a shit or even notice that something was wrong, because he's so chill about this stuff, I will already have driven like halfway across the country and got
To
to
get
the
there.
scene. Yeah, got
Yeah.
to the scene before he did, and he'd
Probably
just be like,
he tapped at the door and he'd be like, "What? What's
"What
going on?"
are you making a fuss for?"
Yeah. What are you doing here?
That would literally be it. So I rang him, right? And then I was like, yeah, making a fuss. He was like, oh, our phone's probably just died. Well, it got to a little while later and I texted him. I rang him again and I'm like, Dad, it rang, it rang. And I was like, panicking. And he just thinks I'm being ridiculous. I ring everybody, rang my nan. Everything was going on, stressing everyone out or not, just stressing myself out further. Anyway, my dad was like, I'll text you when she's home. Half an hour later, right, he texts me, she's home. And no word of a lie, right? This really pissed me off. I actually told my mum off like she was my kid. She comes in and she was pissing herself laughing, right? Because the first thing she says to me, she rings me up. She was like, "My phone died, and I was pissing myself laughing the whole way home because I knew you thought you'd think I'd been murdered." Oh, cheers, mum. Nice one.
Nice. Can I actually find it hilarious that I nearly had heart failure?
I know, but this is why I said this to my other friend, and she was like, "That's excessive," and it definitely is excessive. That I rang her 99 times.
Yeah, but your mum's such I understand though, because your mum's such a innocent little I
Yeah,
don't know. She's a one of a kind, Jade's mum. Can't get another Marina. But yeah, she's so sweet and innocent. She wouldn't even I don't even know if she'd even realise she was getting kidnapped for ages. She'd
I
be
know.
like, oh no, wait a minute.
She said to me after, she was like, "Oh, there was a bloke running behind me, and I heard the gravel like under his feet and that." And then she thought, "Oh shit, what if I did actually get murdered?" And then like no one would know where I was. Jade would have been right. I was like,
Yeah.
"See?" I like proper had to go at her. I was like, you need to buy a bum bag and a battery pack. She's like, I've got both of those. I was like, well, bloody wear them then.
Don't be having them if you don't bloody use them.
I know. But I think I was so annoying to my dad because this is before the thing happened with Sarah Everard. It was a few days before. And
Yeah.
I said something to my dad. He was like, oh, the chances of that happening. And I'm like, no, dad, this happens a lot. And he was like, so I started like sending him
It's not
snaps.
exactly like currently in Milton Keynes, there is not a girl who has completely dropped off the face of the earth for nearly 2 years now.
Yeah,
Oh,
Leah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
it's not
Oh, so
illegitimate to worry.
yeah. I was looking at the stats, and around the world, 6 women are killed by a man every single hour. 6.
Wow.
And it's obviously usually by a man that they know, but sometimes not. And
Yeah.
in the
I
UK alone,
wonder what it is on the other side. I wonder how many women kill men.
yeah, in the UK alone, a woman is killed by a man every 3 days.
Bloody hell. I didn't
I
realise
know.
it was that much
Yeah,
in the UK.
I know. I know.
That's
It's
insane.
scary. Because I read
Yeah.
this article and they were saying basically like coronavirus has sort of taken over like it's making people ignore those stats because everyone's so focused on COVID, obviously, at the moment. Yeah, that people aren't realising what's going on with women.
Yeah, people seem to forget like crime and stuff is still going on. Like, despite
Yeah.
COVID, like it hasn't eradicated that kind of stuff. Like
Well,
people
more.
are like, oh, yeah, aren't people are if people are staying at home, like if you're not a particularly law-abiding citizen as it is, I'm pretty sure
Mm,
you're not bothered about flouting the COVID rules.
yeah, exactly. And not only that, but people that are walking for exercise now and stuff are doing
Yeah.
it on their own more.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And round here, like I don't think it's probably not like it where you are, but round here, for some stupid reason, like I used to go out walking all the time, but
Hmm.
now I don't go out walking at night anymore because like a majority of our street lights are close turned off.
Oh, I
Like
always
they turn
save
them off.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, to save money. They spent hundreds, well, thousands probably, on changing all the street lamps to like the UV, like less money ones. But now they all turn off all the time, and most of the time they're not on. They only illuminate like as you're going past. And it's like, well,
Oh,
it's a bit fucking late then, because like now I get scared. Like when I walk along the brick, you cannot
yeah.
see anything and then it only illuminates when you get there. But if someone's standing at that lamppost, it's just
Yeah.
gonna illuminate and be like, "Surprise! I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah.
It's like you can't avoid it.
Everyone asks me if I find it annoying because I've got a street lamp right outside my house. And I'm like,
Yeah,
are you kidding me? I freaking love it. Like, I can go out to my car and see
yeah,
everything around. I'm like, that's
yeah. Like I've got
lovely.
one right outside my house, and also it's great for the fact that I can go for a wee in the night without turning the lights on because the street
Oh,
lamp
yeah.
illuminates it.
I went outside at first.
I know.
It's
I'm
like
like,
looking out the
"Please,
window.
garden.
There's Ash again squatting under the lamppost.
They were going to tell the neighbour's dog to clean up their mess, but turns out it's me.
Oh God. Right, on that note, I'm going to move on to my story.
Right, go for it.
Right, I've picked this one because of everything going on at the moment, because I fully, and I know you do too, stand by
Yeah,
women protesting at the moment for women's rights. So
yeah,
thanks to them, I would 100% be there if I could, but it's no
exactly.
mentioning. I was
I
tempted to drive.
want a shield or I'd have braved it.
Yeah, I wanted to drive there, but my car broke, my tyre burst, and
Oh, yeah.
I would have driven to Newcastle 100% to take part in this. I was gutted.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, you might have heard of this case, but I am going for the murder of Rebecca Aylward.
Right.
So, Rebecca was born on the 28th of February in 1995 in Bridgend, South Wales. She lived there with her mum, dad, her little sister Jessica, and her little brother Jack. Rebecca was a kind girl who was very protective. She always stood up for people at school if they were being bullied, and she was really, really ambitious. You all right, Ash?
Yeah, sorry, my little brother just came in the room because I'm sat in front of his all his 3D printing gadgets, so I was just like trying to silently mouth, do you require these?" I've I've broke the what's it called where you break the thing where you can't see but you can see.
Start it again and we'll cut all that bit out.
That's fine, we'll keep going.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay. Right.
go.
So, when she was 13, she met Joshua Davies. He soon became her boyfriend, her
Yeah.
first proper boyfriend. They made a great couple. They were both smart at school and got on really well. Josh would always be at Rebecca's house. He was really close to her family, and you know how it is at that age.
Yeah.
Josh was a well-behaved boy and he enjoyed collecting things. He had a particular interest in antique weaponry. So he would collect it, but he also used to draw battle scenes and scenes with monsters, like using the weapons. And he
Oh.
was a really talented artist. So one time when Rebecca was hanging out at Josh's house, he took one of his hunting knives and pretended to threaten her with it as a joke.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, you can see where this is going. So
Yeah.
Rebecca,
Warning signs.
I know, Rebecca was freaked out, but that sort of, thing, it didn't like really panic her too much because he was like quite quirky anyway, and he was like mega into this sort of thing. So 3 months after they first started dating, Josh spent the weekend with Rebecca's family and they played games, took photos, and Josh had his nails painted. They had a really nice time, and Josh told Rebecca's parents that it had been the best weekend of his whole life.
Oh.
I know, but then he went home on the Sunday, and a few hours later, he texted Rebecca and broke up with her.
What?
I know, she was absolutely devastated. She just couldn't understand it, and no one could understand it. Though everyone was well confused.
Yeah, because if someone's like, "Oh, I've just had the best weekend of my life," and then
Yeah,
next thing you know, you're dumped. Like, eh, what?
yeah, exactly. Like, what did I do? What happened?
Am I
So,
missing something?
so, Joshua started telling people at school that she was pregnant with random boys. And he started bullying her quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um, but they had a lot of the same friends, which was awkward, but most of them didn't believe what he was saying. But she
Yeah.
was still heartbroken by it, of course. Um, one of Josh's friends tried to get him to stop, and he said, "Right, we'll just ignore that she exists because you won't be at school together for that much longer, so just ignore her." And
Yeah.
Josh replied, saying that just knowing she exists makes me so angry.
Oh
Bless her.
God.
So Rebecca started telling her friends that she was scared and thought that Josh wanted to kill her. But what she didn't know is that Josh would often have conversations like this with his mates.
So,
And
like,
this
weren't
is
just paranoia.
no. So this is why I've picked this case. I'll just quickly explain because men, like a lot of the good men that I've seen standing up for women lately, have said, "What can we do to help?" Well, the main thing you can do to help is call out your friend's behaviour.
Yeah.
So he would always say things like, "I could come and get her and take her to a bridge and push her off, or I could convince her to jump, or I could poison her," stuff like that. He wasn't
Mm.
an like outwardly violent person, so his friends always like laughed along and joked with him because they thought it was just one big joke, which is not funny in the first place. But you know what teenage boys
Yeah.
understand, that these things can turn serious. So a few months later, the bullying towards Rebecca stopped, and nobody knew why. But it wasn't because he started liking her again. He still hated her, but he put on a front just to like hide it from all their friends.
Yeah.
In 2010, Rebecca became really ill and she kept having blackouts and being sick and stuff. So she had quite a few stays in hospital, and all her friends were being really supportive, like always texting her and things. And they were talking about Rebecca being ill at school and were really worried for her, but Josh like never cared. And
Yeah.
he found it easier now to pretend that she didn't exist. So it was like he was happy that she wasn't there. So every Saturday morning, Josh and his mates went to the local cafe to have a fry up. And Josh, as usual, kept talking about killing Rebecca. But
Yeah.
still, his friends just thought it was all a laugh. And so one of them said, all right, you keep saying you're going to kill Rebecca. So if you do, I'll buy you breakfast.
Uh,
So, yeah,
wow.
I know.
Her
So,
life is only worthy of a free fry up. Yeah. Nice.
exactly. So then it became this constant like group joke about how Josh would end up with a free breakfast, and it like was really funny to them. So anyway, Rebecca became well enough to go back to school in September. She moved on with her life, and she had like a brief other boyfriend, and just being a teenager. But Josh was fuming, and he was really jealous, so he started acting all friendly to Rebecca again.
Yeah.
And of course, with Josh being Rebecca's first proper boyfriend, she was confused and kind of excited and that. So fast forward to the Friday, the 22nd of October, Josh texted Rebecca and asked her to meet him so they could like sort things out and make up. Rebecca was so excited to meet up with Josh again. She ran down to show her mum the messages, and she saw that he had put a picture of their local woods as his profile picture. And they
Yeah.
thought that was weird, but I guess they didn't like think too much into it, nothing dodgy. But he did have a habit of changing his profile picture to like events and stuff that are happening in the area and stuff like that. Like he wasn't a normal person that just had a picture of himself. So,
Yeah.
so on the Saturday, Rebecca woke up really excited to see Josh. She obviously still loved him, and Rebecca's mum said that she was dancing around her room getting ready. She'd bought a new outfit to meet him in. So while Rebecca was getting ready, Josh was at the cafe having his fry up on the Saturday morning with his mates, and he
Yeah.
was planning to meet Rebecca after. So as he was getting up to leave and meet her, he turned to his mates and said casually, "The time has come." So Rebecca was supposed to be meeting Josh at the train station. So she got
Yeah.
dropped off there. She waited for about 10 minutes, then he texted her and said, "Actually, can you meet me at the park instead?" So she walked to the park, waited another roughly 10 minutes because she thought he was on his way. Then she started to think that maybe he was standing her up. And this bit in particular sort of made me sad because when you're a teenager, you'll do anything for someone that likes you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never meet a bloke now if I was single because I don't trust him. But
No.
if I would,
So people are like, why don't you go on a dating site? And I'm like, nope, I will get killed. No, thank you.
oh God, I know exactly. And like, if some lad was messing me around but like this, I'd be like, "No thanks, mate. Bye." Like, you wouldn't give
Go
me the
away.
time of day now, but you're
No.
so vulnerable at that age, like even
Yeah,
more
so
so.
naive, and you think, oh yeah, they love me, and it's all like puppy love, and everything's gonna be
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, it's so sad. So Rebecca rang her mum while she was stood at the park, and while she was talking to her, Josh texted again and said, "Oh, could you meet me at the village?" Well, Rebecca on the phone to her mum, as I said, her mum was getting a bit stressed, and she was like, "I don't really want you walking from place to place and stuff like that." So
Mm.
she stayed on the phone while she walked there, and then when she got to the village, she couldn't see Josh anymore, like at all. So then she started seeing a lad walking down the hill. And Rebecca's mum's like, "Are you sure it's him? Are you sure it's Josh?" And Rebecca was like, "I think so, I think so." And as they got closer and closer, Rebecca was like, "Yeah, it's him, it's Josh. He's here." And Rebecca's mum said that Josh would usually like shout hi from the background or whatever, but he didn't, which was really
Mm.
weird for him.
Yeah.
Rebecca said, "Bye, mum, I love you," and put the phone down and then went off with Josh. So at about 5 p.m., Rebecca's mum got a text from Rebecca's auntie she was saying Rebecca's phone's not on and she couldn't get a hold of her. So she asked Rebecca's mum to pass on a message. So Rebecca's mum starts panicking because she's like, well, she's still not home and her phone's dead. That's not like her. She always answers her phone.
Yeah.
And earlier in the day, Rebecca had told her mum that her and Josh would like probably end up back at their house to hang out after they'd been to town, but they hadn't done that. So Rebecca's mum and auntie started ringing all of Rebecca's friends, but they all said the same thing, that they hadn't seen her or heard from her at all that day. So they got in the car and went looking for the train station, the park, like all around the streets in the main village where she'd met up with Josh. They couldn't find her anywhere, and while they were looking for her, Rebecca's little sister Jessica and her best friend were ringing around other people and kept trying Rebecca and Josh's phones. So both the phones were sometimes ringing, sometimes they weren't, but when they were ringing, they were getting declined.
Oh.
So yeah, so that is like massive red flag.
Yeah.
At around
Like, are they declining?
yeah, at around 8 p.m., it had been about 7 hours since anyone had heard from Rebecca, and it was getting dark. So Rebecca's mum officially reported her missing with the police. Then
Yeah.
at around 9 p.m., she finally got hold of Josh, and he told Rebecca's mum that he hadn't been with Rebecca that day and that he'd been at his nan's house. But he'd also put on Facebook earlier in the afternoon that he was with his mates. But I guess he could have been with his mates at his nan's house or whatever, but it just,
Yeah.
He did say that he'd planned to go and see Rebecca, but he called her and said he couldn't come because he was busy at his nan's. And Rebecca's mum asked him, so it wasn't you she met up with in the village earlier when she was on the phone to me? And Josh said, no, it wasn't me. So Josh was quite worried about Rebecca going missing, or he seemed it. So
Yeah.
he agreed to call Rebecca's mum if he heard anything. Then all evening, Rebecca's friends, including Josh, were posting about Rebecca's disappearance on Facebook and trying to get, the word out there. Loads
Yeah.
of people were searching for her all night, and by the next day, Rebecca's disappearance was on the news. One of Josh's friends saw this on the telly and started to wonder if it was Josh.
Yeah.
The boy told his parents to ring the police and look in the woods that were in Josh's profile picture.
Yeah.
And that's where they found her lying face down. Her autopsy showed that she had been hit repeatedly with rocks and her skull had caved in. She died from her brain injuries.
Oh.
I know. The police arrested Josh and the friend who had tipped them off as well. Rebecca's mum defended Josh and said there was no way he would have hurt Rebecca, and it's not clear if she knew that he'd been bullying her before. So obviously she had this like nice picture of him.
Yeah, I suppose at that age, you don't really tell your mum everything that's going on, do you?
No, you don't. And
I suppose if she had any intention of like wanting to get back with him, she wouldn't have wanted to make her mum hate him.
Exactly.
So probably didn't tell her the bad bits about him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when the police told Rebecca's mum that they're pretty sure he done the whole killing, but with the help of a friend maybe, because he knew the location, it come as a massive shock to her. She couldn't believe it. So the police questioned all of Rebecca's friends, and they all said they were sure it was Josh Davies. He went to trial in 2011, and this is where it came out that Josh had been making poison at home out of Coca-Cola, foxglove, and deadly nightshade. So you remember when Rebecca kept getting ill and they couldn't work out why?
Yeah.
It was
poisoning her then?
Well, it was likely, yeah.
Gosh.
So they also looked at his phone records and saw a text to one of his friends a couple of days before Rebecca was found that read, "Don't say anything, but you may just owe me a breakfast."
Oh, gosh.
I know. And on the day Rebecca was murdered, around an hour after she spoke to her mum, Josh received a text from a friend that said, "Are you with Rebecca?" And Josh texted back saying, "Define with." So Josh said during the trial that he was at the scene when Rebecca was murdered, but he didn't take part in any of it, of course. and it was actually his friend. He said that himself and Rebecca had been playing a joke on his friend, and that his friend had just lost it and started hitting Rebecca in the head with a rock. So the judge asked Josh to show him what had happened. And when Josh started reenacting the attack, everyone knew straight away that it was him that had done it. Like, he was doing it from memory.
Yeah.
So,
Because I suppose if you've done it yourself, and he clearly wasn't bothered by it, but if you'd done it yourself compared to if you'd witnessed someone, so surely if you'd witnessed someone doing it, you're going to be a bit traumatized and it's going to go a bit wrong.
yeah, and like the way you hold things as well, even like, yeah. So one of Josh's friends stood up in court and told the jury that it was Josh that had done this. And he had even taken his friend to see Rebecca's body.
Oh my gosh.
I know. He said that Josh said he'd tried to kill Rebecca by strangling her, but it was harder than he thought. So Rebecca started fighting him, screaming, running away, and Josh knew then that he had to kill her so nobody would find out that he had tried to.
Yeah.
So he looked down, saw the rock, and hit her around the head with it. He said the worst part of the murder for him was when he felt Rebecca's skull cave in.
Oh,
I know.
that's just giving me like chills.
Oh,
Like, I can't even imagine what that is like. Ugh.
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But on the 27th of July 2011, Josh Davies was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 14 years.
Only 14?
A minimum of, yeah. I
Wow.
think he's still in, from what I've seen. Yeah.
Where is this? England or America? America, in it.
Wales.
Wales.
Yeah.
Mm.
In
That's why it's such a little sentence.
well, yeah.
We don't. Our lives is not that much like a life, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Like in America, to be fair, when they say life, it means life.
It means life, yeah. Whereas here it's like 14 years, but then if you're good,
Yeah.
it could be 7, and then
Yeah.
this, and then it's like, why did you even bother sentencing them? Because by this point, they're only going to do a couple of months. Great.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is the story of Rebecca Aylward.
Oh, that's so sad though that
I
she
know.
the boyfriend to like love her back, and
I
I don't.
know.
This is one of the things that gets me is when, like with that Shanann case,
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'd created a new life, and I didn't just leave her. I had to kill her and the kids and everything. And it's like, what is wrong with people that they can't just split up, move away, like carry on? They have to fully like murder them.
That case bothered like some of my family members, like even my dad was shook up by that one. Like, it's so horrible.
Yeah, that one was an exceptional case. Like them,
Yeah,
so cute, and the fact she was pregnant, it's just.
I know.
But yeah,
She knew he was having an affair anyway, so it wouldn't have been like a massive shock to her.
no.
Oh, bless her. So, do you want to do the one?
Yes. So I have John Lowe.
Oh.
This is another one from England. Sorry.
Oh, at least it's not up north this time.
I was nice, and I was like, right, let's make sure I'm not in anywhere Geordieville this time. I'm sorry. So, right, I'm gonna start mine a weird way this time. So it starts with the quote. So I don't know if I'm going to be alive if I go back in there. He shot my mum. Bye. These were the last words that 40-year-old Lucy Lee spoke to the 999 operator on the 23rd of February 2014.
Oh, that's
The culprit,
sad.
John Lowe, who was 82 at the time, due to his age, he died in prison after he got found out that it was him.
Mm-hmm.
But John Lowe was known to his victims. So the two women, Lucy and her mum Christine, who's 66, they used to help him. The two women had been helping him after the death of his former wife in 2012.
Oh,
Neither of the women just said they were in any form of like relationship with Lowe, but
yeah.
Lowe seems to have it in, describes Christine as his on and off girlfriend, but
Mhm.
nobody else seems to think that it was ever the case.
Mm,
They were just friendly. Like
yeah.
the neighbours have said that Christine's neighbours said she was spoiled, blonde, chatty, and always very nice and friendly, and would always
Oh,
help anyone anytime they needed anything. She was just like a little pillar of the community kind of thing. And then her daughter Lucy, although she kept herself to herself, she was still a very kind and caring and spiritual woman who absolutely loved animals more than anything.
oh,
So, according to Lucy's partner, Matthew Richardson, the women had spent 4 days a week at Lowe's house, which was the Ramshackle Keeper's Cottage Stud, which is a
oh,
secluded woodland plot near Farnham in Surrey.
okay.
So, we lived on like a puppy farm.
So is that where they breed puppies and sell them?
Yeah, I think
Okay,
so.
right.
Mr. Richardson also said that Lowe was fully dependent on the two women. Like he told the court, like without Christine and Lucy, he wouldn't be there today because they did everything for him. Because he was quite old. He was 82.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So he was extremely under the weather and malnourished, and he wasn't good in financially, physically, or any other way. So that's why they saw him in that state since his wife had left. He'd
Hmm.
gone like downhill. So they thought, being the nice people that they are, they thought, oh no, he's an 82-year-old man, we'll help him out, we'll get him sorted. So they used to go
Oh,
around there 4 days a week to help him out. Mr. Richardson said Lowe was very charming, but at the same time really difficult. And he
yeah.
told the police that he could sometimes act like a child who was throwing his toys out of the pram.
See, I see a pattern with men like this, and when you help them, it never ends well.
No, because like with what's his name? How
Yeah,
many people helped him? Well, I
yeah.
can't think of um
Oh, I don't know if we're talking about the
the big
same
one,
person.
the
Oh,
one that Ted Bundy. That's his
oh, Bundy. Yeah,
Bundy. People helped. He used to get people to help him, didn't he? And
oh,
appear and
yeah. Men
so
like that, it never ends well. But
no.
go on, sorry.
Don't be kind. Leave him to suffer.
Yeah, be an asshole always. That is my new motto. I say this to people all the time. Like, just be
Yeah,
horrible and say sorry after
yeah,
if you need to.
yeah. Go in with first.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was like a child throwing his kids out the pram, his toys out.
Bloody hell, this is taking a turn.
I know, taking a turn now. But on February the 23rd, Lucy had called Mr. Richardson saying that Lowe was asking for the keys to his gun cabinet.
Oh,
And
God.
usually in England, it's not really common for many people to have guns. But
No.
in a secluded farm, he had managed to get himself a shotgun license.
Oh, fantastic.
I know.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So Mr. Richardson told the court that she was not calm. She was like somewhat, she weren't like majorly panicking when she was calling
Mm,
him, but she was like slightly somewhere in the middle, a bit stressed, and
yeah.
she'd asked her other half, Mr. Richardson, to come and pick her up.
Oh,
So she was concerned about letting him have access to the gun cabinet because she thought it was perhaps not safe to let him have
yeah.
the key with her and the mother around,
Yeah.
because he would have a temper tantrum sometimes, and she just something seemed off. She
Yeah.
had her warning signs were going off.
Yeah, gut feeling. Always trust it.
Uh, yeah. Um, so she felt that it would be a threat to her and her mother. So Mr. Richardson arranged to pick Lucy up at 3 o'clock and
Hmm.
overheard Lowe acted agitated, but he said it
Oh.
wasn't over the top, like, so he
Mm.
just kind of thought it was just his usual temper tantrums kind of thing. But then,
Yeah.
long after Lucy had finished speaking to her partner, Lowe did gain access to the gun cabinet.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
At his trial, he claims that the killings had been an accident and he had been going out to shoot some of the dogs after an argument about feeding them.
Oh, nice, because that makes it
Yeah, because
better.
that's so much better.
Yeah.
But in reality, what he actually did was go into the living room of the farmhouse and shoot Christine Lee in the chest at almost point blank range while she was
Oh,
cowering in the corner in front of him.
oh, bless
I
her.
know. And she's the one that had kept him alive and done
Yeah.
everything for him, and that's how she repaid him. He repaid her even.
Oh, bless her.
Yeah. Lowe did absolutely nothing to assist Christine or to go and aid her as she laid bleeding. He just simply walked away, is what the Mark Dennis said to the prosecutor during her
Mm,
trial.
yeah.
Lucy ran outside quickly, calling 999
Yeah.
before running into the house. And that's where that quote comes from. She said,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be alive if I go back in there because he shot my mum. Bye. And then, unfortunately, by the time the firearms officers reached the scene, Lucy was dead along with her 66-year-old mother, Christine. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
that is the worst, like seeing her mum get shot like that as well.
no, the
Oh,
last thing that she had to see in her life was her mum getting shot before then her.
yeah.
It's not exactly clear what happened next after their phone call cut off.
Hmm.
Um, During the trial, it was suggested that she'd been shot in the back of the head in the
Oh,
farmhouse's utility room because some of her blood was found there. And then she'd stumbled back outside before collapsing on the steps behind the house. And all that we know is that Lowe shot her from behind at a distance of about 9 feet, but it's a shotgun, it
oh,
still killed her.
yeah. Oh, bless
Lowe's
her.
Yeah, Lowe's first words to the arresting officer, PC Chris Gleason, were, "They have been giving me shit for weeks."
Oh,
Red flag.
what an
Officers,
asshole, an
I
ungrateful
know.
asshole.
Yeah, it's like they've been giving me shit for weeks. No, they've been saving you for shit from shit for weeks.
Shouldn't have bothered, honestly. It would have
No,
been better
should
off
have let him
without
just
him.
rot.
Hmm.
So officers noted down at the trial that he showed absolutely no remorse whatsoever. At one stage, saying that women had to be put down as if they're dogs. Like,
Blech.
yeah. PC Gleason said that Mr. Lowe later added, "Christine Lee is an ex-girlfriend who is supposed to be looking after me, but is starving me to death and has been keeping me short of money. I have to beg them for petrol money." And other police officers testified that he had talked about being glad that the women were dead, being glad that they were out of his life, and that he said he was not sorry at all.
God.
Yeah. Lowe
Oh,
himself still insisted that the shootings had been accident and
oh.
a faulty safety catch was responsible. Um, but it wasn't at all. The
Well, I
firearms
guess that.
expert, yeah, the firearms expert told the jury it was a purposeful act. Like he tried making
Mhm.
out that just it had a sensitive trigger, and just the slightest touch would have made it go off. But it was tested, and the firearms expert was like, "No, you have to fully, intentionally pull this back," and he would have had to
Yeah.
pull it back and reload it to be able to shoot both
Yeah.
of them.
Oh, and
Like,
it's like, how do you accidentally shoot two people like so far apart in time. Like
Yeah,
she had time to make a phone call, and you've happened to point it at both of them with like time in between. Don't think
yeah.
so, mate.
It was an accident, yet he did not make any attempt whatsoever to help her. Like,
Yeah,
surely if you'd accidentally shot someone, you'd be like, oh no, quick, no, you can't die. I'm gonna get Jeffrey Dahmer.
yeah,
Crap, shit, what? Like,
exactly.
it wouldn't be just like, oh, me, you're dead
Let's
then.
go for another
Carry
round.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, it was proved that he was walking out of his poo hole.
yeah.
He said you don't just touch it and it will go off. You have to physically move your finger. And then Lowe was convicted of the murders of Christine and Lucy Lee on October the 29th, 2014. And 2 days
Oh,
later, he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 25 years. But all knew he was going to die in prison because he was 82 anyway.
yeah, yeah.
So they could have given him 10 years and he'd probably have died in the time.
That's
But
crazy though. I didn't realise it was so recent.
yeah, after the murders, it emerged that Lowe had been known to the police, and police officers had previously confiscated several shotguns from Keeper's Cottage in May 2013,
Oh no.
only to then later return them to him 2 months later, despite the fact they knew he had made threats to kill the Lees
No.
using their shotguns. Yeah. One of the weapons that was used to kill the two women, an inquiry by the IPCC, Independent Police Complaints Commission, found that officers had failed to assess the risk of returning Lowe's guns and had not reviewed his file properly. A firearms licensee inquiry was dismissed following a gross misconduct inquiry. The firearms licensing supervisor retired before a hearing was held, so neither faced criminal charges, despite the fact that the Independent Police Complaints Commission said that they would have been done for being criminally negligent. And
That's not good enough.
No, the police commissioner David Munro said in 2017 that Surrey's police's decision to return Lowe's weapons to him remains a matter of deep regret for the force. But it's like, well, what's regret going to do?
Yeah, exactly. It won't bring them back for their families.
No. But yeah, so that is the case of John Lowe. Luckily, because John was 82, he died just 4 years after he was sentenced in prison.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he got caught.
Yeah.
Wow. What fucking idiots, like,
I know.
giving those guns back.
Like, if you've had a reason to confiscate shotguns, why are you going to go and give them back?
It's not like he even needs them anyway, let's be real.
No, at his age, like, what's he going to be going, like, he's not going to be going hunting and shooting and stuff, really, is he?
Well, to be fair,
all frail and stuff, that they have to look after him and do everything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. Wow. Well, do you have a fact?
I do. Why is well random? It made me laugh because I've never actually noticed. Loads of people probably know this and I've never known it. But did you know that the Mona Lisa has no eyebrows?
What?
Mona Lisa's got no eyebrows.
Hang on, I am looking at this right now. Right. I need to. Oh, hang on. Oh. How have I never noticed that?
I know. I was like, wait, what? I've never, like, you think, like, anytime I see, like, Jeffree Star without his brows, you clearly notice, like, Jeffree's got no brows. And I was like, I've seen the Mona Lisa so many times.
Yeah.
All I notice is, like, her weird, like, face, but I've never noticed, like, her weird, like, smile thing.
I know what
like,
you mean.
her facial expression. But, like, I've never noticed I know. I'm nice, aren't I? I meant her weird facial expression, not her actual face. But yeah, I was like, how the heck have I never noticed she's not got no eyebrows?
Oh my God, she literally looks like Jeffree Star.
Yeah,
I'm baffled.
so was I. I'm glad it weren't just me. I was expecting you to go, well, yes, Ashley, everyone knows that. Show me. But have you got one?
I have, but it's I feel like it's well long. Right,
Go
so
for it.
bear with me. I'm about
Right.
to start like a whole new episode here. Right, you know how there's never been a female president in America?
Yeah.
Well, there kind of has, okay? Because she was freaking badass for this. But there was a president called Woodrow Wilson who ran America from 1913 to 1921,
Yeah.
and he had a stroke, but he didn't die, right? He did
Yeah.
not die. That is important. Otherwise,
Right.
this makes this all very strange. So his wife, Edith Wilson, she was like, "Nah, we're not being seen as weak. We can still run this joint." So she basically ran the country from behind the scenes and made all the decisions, made the phone calls and everything, being like, "Oh yeah, Woodrow says this and Woodrow says that." So people started getting suspicious that they hadn't seen the president for ages. So
Yeah.
she propped him up at a desk with with her leaning next to him, and he like put a pen in his hand and everything, so it looked like he was doing all the work and she was just like in the picture, so it looked like he was doing the job. I was like, you bloody genius. You're the first woman to run the country and nobody knows.
That's so good.
I know.
That's so funny, her just propping him up. Yeah, I see what you said about the fact that he's not dead. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
she just propped up his crop, stuck a broom up his bum and sat him at the table.
Thingies in his eyeballs, matchsticks.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'll put the picture on the Kill and Chill page just for the laughs.
That's so funny.
I know, badass.
Isn't it? I've never even heard of that. But then, to be fair, I don't know much about American presidents and all that jazz. I can't really name any of them apart from Bush and Trump. And Obama Llama.
Yeah. No, I'm just a history nerd.
Yeah.
I don't actually know about the presidents. That would be impressive.
I like all the other kind of history, just not that.
Yeah. No, she's now my official favourite president.
In it, definitely.
Good old Edith Wilson.
So cool.
Right, well, shall we play our song?
Yes. So cool. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week, whatever day of the week it is you're listening.
Okay, thanks for listening.